Just testing audio. Testing audio, testing audio. Testing audio. Audio good? Sounds good to me. Alright, hello and welcome. We are here for the Elite Aspect F1 preseason race at Qatar. And just getting into qualifying, we've got about 13 minutes left. It looks like a couple guys on an outlap. CPI 0 has set a 122. We've got Dixie, Rex 44 coming into the pits, looks like, maybe coming out. Yep, coming into the pits, he has set our fastest lap time at 1:22.095. Again, this is TEA Gold, or the Elite Aspect F1. This is going to be Gold. This is Season 1. We're relaunching a league here. Shout out to Young Lights for putting this all together. But that's who we're going to be commentating with this year. We are at Qatar for this preseason event. This is Losail International Circuit, 16 turns, 5.418 kilometers, and not one DRS zone that I'm aware of right now, unless they decide to change that for some strange reason. If there's another one going on in here somewhere, I do not know about that because it was not listed as far as I'm aware of. But we are in with qualifying, as we do see. 11 drivers out here today. Again, this is just a preseason test that we're doing here to get everybody going. We will have a full race next week, starting at the same time, about 7:45, 8 p.m. UK time. But yeah, this is just a little preseason testing. We see CompuWare getting out of the way of somebody on a fast lap there. These guys, drivers and everything, they might not be in the same cars coming next week, as we do see a caution there in Sector 2. Right now, Dixie Rex still holds the fastest time of a 1:22.095. I have seen CP 0 before. He was a pretty quick driver as well. WRL Kubica has been very... He's definitely been around for a bit now, and we've seen him quite a few times. So looking to see how these guys do out on track there, see the pace. I think it's just going to be a little bit of testing, seeing how these guys fare with each other. Let's see, we are on board now with ADGR 17 in the Ferrari. Looks like he is on a hot lap here. Let's go ahead and get us some telemetry and stuff up as he's getting ready to round the final turn. Looks like he's back out of this one and is going to go again. Hopefully he's got enough fuel in that car. But yeah, here's a good round of the circuit. As big long run down into turn 1. Of course, it is not a huge steep turn, but it definitely goes at least almost 180 degrees back around. Into turn 2, this is a pretty long, fast, sweeping track. You're on throttle for a lot of it, and the braking zones are not that heavy. It's a lot of just backing off the accelerator and not going to be too heavy on the brakes. As you do see there, the throttle right in the bottom middle corner. There is a little bit of braking going on, but for the most part, a lot of these turns are just a little bit of let off, and make sure you hit that apex and get back on throttle to get right back into it. As you see, he barely touched the brakes coming into turn 8 and 9 here. Nice fast sweeping section, and then turn 10 are going to have to use the brakes into turn 10 as we round turn 11 here. This is going to be a long run again down to turn 12, so we look to see a little bit of slipstream, see if we can do anything. Turns 12 and then another right-hander of turn 15. That is a very cool section, and again, the third apex of turn 14. You get a good run down into turn 15. What it can do is give you the great ability to maybe take some momentum into turn 16 and then hit that DRS and make a pass into turn 1. So that's a little wrap around Losail International Street Circuit here. On board with ADGR 17. Let's see what time he actually posted. Looked pretty fast there for a minute there. 122.388. But I guess maybe he invalidated that lap somehow, because it did not post that he did that lap. So while we were on board with him, we did see Young Lights, who is still pushing it, looks like, out there. He did a 121.814 to take provisional pole here at the moment. Still Dixie, CPI in second and third now. I think Josh, too, did put a time in. He is running in fourth at the moment. We've still got plenty of time here. As we wind down qualifying, so 9-10 minutes left of qualifying before we even set the grid. So I think these guys are just kind of taking their time, going around, feeling the track out, seeing how obviously the track does change over time as well, so it's going to rubber in just a little bit. Josh too just did a 121.5, so he has now put himself in provisional pole. I actually expect to see those times to drop, where guys are going to run a couple more laps here, burn off fuel, maybe just run a couple pre-laps. But they're all going to come in, put on a set of fresh tires right about that 3-minute mark left, and then come out and start doing some real laps around here. So not much to really talk about in qualifying. We do only have 11 drivers in this preseason test here for the Elite Aspect F1 preseason testing here at Qatar Losail Street International Circuit. This track was, I think, built not too long ago, or maybe it was built a while ago, but it was, I think, run for mostly GP motorbikes, so that's pretty interesting. But they did race this first F1 race back here in 2021. It was kind of, a strange time, and they decided to put a different circuit on, so that is how that rolled. But we are here at Qatar Losail International Circuit for a little preseason testing for the Elite Aspect F1 Gold League Season 1. I'm just going to step away for a minute, as I don't think there's going to be much going on over the next 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah, we still got about 3.5 minutes until we actually see all these guys going out to really start putting in their last time. So we'll just ride on forward and keep an eye on some of these guys for just a minute. I'm going to step away for 1 second and make sure I've got enough liquid in me to do this. It looks like CPI 0 did just do the fastest first sector. We can ride on board with him real quick before I step away. Make sure he doesn't invalidate anything. He's cutting it close there, using as much of the track as possible. I'm not sure if they've got this on strict or regular, but he did invalidate his lap there, so maybe it is on strict. However, these guys got to keep it in between the white lines. We also saw that today in qualifying in the real F1 around Austria. Drivers just getting times and times and times deleted due to the fact that they were just crossing over those white lines. So not all 4 tires need to be, but you have to keep 2 or 3 tires in the white line. I'm not sure how this game really recognizes it. I haven't done any testing yet on this game as far as track limits, but pretty much if you cross over the white line with 2 tires on one side, you're okay. If you cross all the way over and all 4 tires are on the other side of that white line, you are going to get your lap deleted, you are going to get invalidated, and then during the race you do that a couple times and you will end up with a penalty, a 3-second penalty that cannot be served in the pits. All right, 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. We are here. And again, I am really just trying to manage some sound stuff. We are in preseason testing here, so we are not only just testing these drivers out and the league functions and the lobby functions as far as the game is concerned, but also my commentary. So bear with us if there's any strange hiccups as far as the sound is concerned, but we will work those out and be ready for next week's round one. So like I mentioned earlier, CPI 0, as he just crosses the line, does a 121.201 to put himself on the front row. Still got a little bit of a gap there to Young Lights. That's about 3/10 there, of course. But everybody should have put on a nice fresh set of tires. As we watch Josh too, as he is coming around, that is not a fast time for him, so he'll probably be pushing this time. As you can look at the bottom, the big yellow bar right in the middle there, that is going to be their ERS deployment, so he's deploying now. We've got quite a few drivers out on track, as a matter of fact. Young Lights has went ahead and retired. He decided he thinks that his time is going to be enough. We'll see if CPI 0 or Josh is actually going to be the first one. Nope. Yeah, Josh will be the first one to cross the line, maybe. Looking to see who is invalidated and who is on a fast lap. As we do get Ewok coming across the line now. Let's see if he gets any improvement of that 125. No, he did not push lap, so he is doing that now. We're going to come back up with Josh 2 here, as he is rounding around through turns 5, 6, and 7 now. Didn't see any purple sectors. He does have somebody going slow in front of him. So this is kind of going to be the last push. Anybody that's on a lap now will be able to do that lap. And I believe Josh will be the first one across unless one of these Ferraris is on a fast lap. It could be, I'm not sure, Faster Than You and ADGR. One of them just crossed the line. They did not improve. So I think Josh 2 will be the first one to cross the line unless that Aston Martin is going to do it. Nope, so we'll keep an eye on Josh as he crosses the line. Can he improve? He did a little bit of an improvement there, but wasn't able to bring him up a spot or anything. We do have a Red Bull out there. That'll be WRL Kubica. Let's see if he can do anything. He did not invalidate probably because he slowed down enough while he was off track, but he's not even deploying his ERS. So he is done for his lap. Should have a Mercedes coming around. CompuWare 2. He has pushed everything. Opened that DRS. This is his last run down to the line. Let's see if he can improve on his time. It looks like he did improve just a touch, and he will move up to 8th place there. As we've got a couple guys coming across the line. I'm trying to make sure I get the right one. The Ferrari of ADGR. He puts himself on the second row. And the other Mercedes of Mr. Big. He will be crossing the line. And he did not improve. We've got Faster Than You still out there with an invalidated lap. Toxic Blades, let's see where he's coming as he's falling just around the last turn. DRS, open that up, and let's get a good run to the line. Did he improve? It looks like he might actually a little bit. He did improve, but it was not enough to set a faster time or to move up a little bit. So, do we have another Alpine out there? Nope, that's CP0 coming into the pits. Faster Than You, he's got an invalidated lap time, so that's not going to work for him. And Dixie Wrecked is still out there, but he is not going to be able to put a time in. So that's going to do it for qualifying here at the preseason event in Qatar for the Elite Aspect F1 Racing League. We are in the gold tier as of now. This league is going to grow. We'll probably have silver, platinum, any other colors you like there. As we see our qualifying is finished with Young Lights taking pole. Right beside him on row 1 will be CPI 0, and then on row 2 will be Josh 2 and ADGR 17. That Ferrari put in a pretty good lap there to put himself on the second row there. Then Dixie Direct and Toxic Blades will be running up the third row. WR Kubica, Faster Than You, will be row 4. CompuWare and Mr. Big will be row 5. And then we've got Ewok Jr. in the Williams pulling up last place of 11th here. For this little preseason testing we're doing around the Qatar Grand Prix. Again, this is the Losail Street Circuit, International Circuit. I'm sorry, I keep calling it a street circuit, and it is not. It's a Losail International Circuit. So we will get on here. Yeah, everybody finished. They used some different tires. Do have soft, medium, and hard compound tires available to the drivers. Again, we'll do a little bit of info of what's going on. This is a Losail International Circuit. It is 16 turns, 5.418 kilometers, 1 DRS zone. And we are here for the Elite Aspect Racing Gold season 2023. Doubt there's going to be any weather issues coming into tonight, as it is in Qatar, but who knows? We are not going to have a formation lap here today, due to the fact that there has been some weird things happening, especially with starting grid orders and if anybody's out of position. So we are going to be ready to go here. That's 5 red lights, and away we go. Very, very quickly. Looks like Young Lights did get away well, but no, CPI 0 is right on the top of him. Going down on the inside of turn 1. Young Lights losing out just a little bit. He did start on the medium compound tire. I saw a lot of guys start on the hard compound tires. We'll get into that just a little bit here as CPI 0 takes the lead of the Grand Prix here going into turns 3, 4, and 5. He's got the Alpine of Josh right behind him. ADGR and Direct Dixie have now swapped positions as well, so that's Direct Dixie up 1 place on the Ferrari. Young Lights staying in the slipstream of CPI 0, of course. Everybody's nice and tight here. I'm really liking to see that. No real issues, I think, coming into the first few turns. So, nice, clean lap 1 we have so far. Don't mean to jinx anything if I do, but it looks like everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. I really like to see that. On my next stream, I'll definitely move some of this stuff around, so it's not quite right in the middle of the stream. I can definitely take care of that on the next stream. If we have a safety car or anything, we'll try to take care of that in the middle of this. But right now, it looks like everybody's lined to stern. I think Young Lights might have a better run coming out of one of these turns on those medium compound tires. Is he going to be able to look to the outside here? No, he had to back out of that one just a little bit as we are finishing up the first lap here at the Qatar PreSeason running. Into turn 16, here we go. Is he going to be able to do a mini switchback maneuver, but not really, just get a better line coming out of the final turn into that slipstream? That Alpine's looking pretty fast. I'm not sure what these guys are running the rings at, but there we go, ducking down to the inside, especially on those softer compound tires, running the mediums against the hards. He does take the lead of the race here, with CPI 0 just tucking in behind him. Did Josh 2 get a good run out of that? Dixie Erect, of course, is staying there as well. A little bit of a gap forming behind Dixie there, and for 5th, 6th, and 7th, but everybody's still lined astern here. Everybody just trying to pick their battles here. Of course, we don't have DRS implemented until lap 3, and there's a little bit of possible race strategies there for you. So medium to hards, or some of these guys did start on the hard compounds. We can go ahead and look at that a little bit. So we've got 3 runners running on the hards, 2 runners running on the softs, everybody else on the mediums. That's probably one of the most stable ones you can run. I will definitely try to do something about moving some of this stuff around. I don't want to take away from the race, but hey, this is preseason, so why am I not allowed to do that? Let's go ahead and see if I can move some stuff here. I'm not allowed to do that. There we go. It's not letting me. Yeah, I want to select that one. See if that changes anything. I'll go through and do this a little bit later. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, it didn't really move it here for the broadcast view. I'm going to have to go into my settings and look at something like that. It looks like Josh 2 did get around CPI 0 on those soft compound tires. So CPI 0 is playing a long game here, seeing how far he can take those hard compound tires and be a little bit faster towards the end of the race. So good on him for at least giving that a try. That is the a different strategy that he can use around here. Fast and You must have had a little bit of an issue. He did go off track. I did see a little bit of a warning for him. He did get time penalty as CP0 just picked one up as well. So I'm expecting we'll see a few of those around this circuit, especially how track limits are laid out around here, and it being the fast type circuit that it is. Young Lights is definitely moving down to the inside, trying to break the slipstream of Josh too. If he can be on later on the brakes, it doesn't look like it. Faster Than You just got another penalty, so it looks like he's struggling back there. He might have some wing damage or something and not being able to keep it quite on the track. We've got some other moves going around. Looks like Mr. B Big has now retired from the session. Not sure what happened, but it looks like coming right out of the pit lane, he might have had an issue. Josh, too, is all over the back of Young Lights now. We're going to keep it on the leaders here for just a minute as we are watching these guys do really good battle around here. The lights are looking really, really nice. I don't know if the sun is setting or if it's just morning time and coming up, so we'll see how that progresses, how it changes the shadows, changes braking points for these drivers. Is it warming up the circuit, or is the circuit cooling down as the sun is setting? I think those lights might be coming on, so I think the sun might be cooling down here. Not sure what direction we're facing, but I could tell you between east and west if I do that. But I'm not privy to that kind of information. CPI0 is falling back a little bit, but I think he's trying to conserve his tires. If he can stay, can't help Dixie here if he can get a little bit closer, then he might be able to make a move. But all these drivers are staying pretty close, especially the top 6 here. We did see a gap with Toxic Blades back about 4 seconds out of the path of the Red Bull in 6th place, and then a couple drivers around him. So again, Young Lights moving all the way over to the right, swerving, that's just heating up his tires here, as Young Lights is still able to move in a little bit, staying out of the slipstream. Is he going to be able to have a move down here in turns 2 and 3? Doesn't quite look like it. Definitely difficult. I mean, you can overtake at this track, but with the drivers maintaining speeds, it does make it a little bit more difficult. There's plenty of room on this track to make those moves, but there's no real great places to actually put your car to make that move actually happen. So always an interesting time around this track. Everybody does seem line to stern still. Got a pretty good race going on, especially once we get into pit stop strategies. We'll see how these drivers react with that. Is the undercut possible? Is the overcut more of a better idea there? Especially with CPI0, he has dropped down to 4th place, so we did miss the overtake with Dixie there as we were watching our leaders battle a little bit. But yeah, we'll see if CPI continues to drop. ADGR is making up some ground, but we do need to remember that CPI is on those hard compound tires and he is running the alternate strategy. So he's going to run long, probably pretty deep into this race. If he can take those hard tires into lap 20, he might be able to put on a set of softs as we see CPI run a little bit wide there in the background. Like I was saying, if he can run to lap 20, he might be able to put on a set of softs, and then he'll be running tremendously much faster than the rest of the drivers. Is Josh going to be able to make a move finally with DRS open down to the inside, moving into turn 1? Young Lights tries to cover him off, but just not possible. Can Young Lights come back at him with Josh taking the steeper line into it? Yeah, making a move in back into turn 2 is going to be tough to regain your position, but staying at slipstream, and then most of our overtakes will be into turn 1. We do see ADGR as well. He is all over the back of WRL Kubica. He might actually be able to make a move as we see Kubica run a little bit wide there. All the penalties we've seen are out. I didn't even see a warning flash on my screen, so didn't quite get the apex there. Oh, and the rear end wanted to step out just a touch. So yeah, we'll see how these hard compound tires really do. They may take a few extra laps to actually get in, and we might see, the medium runners running, 5, 6 tenths faster per lap with the heavier fuel, but after about 8 laps, 9 laps, 10 laps, we might see these hard tires really come into their own and turn into something that can actually start to compete with the medium tires again. As the medium tires degrade just a little bit, those hard tires might actually become a little bit better tire. We do see a couple more penalties being thrown out around there, but that's expected around this track, especially preseason testing. Just trying to test, see what you can get away with. There's nothing wrong with the drivers doing that. That's what testing is all about. And yeah, it gives me an idea of what these cars need to do and where the game itself is pulling track limits, because we've had that debate for quite some while now about the game and how strict is it on track limits. Sometimes it's just a little bit too much. We did see ADGR. I'm so sorry I moved away from that as I wanted to check on the leaders for just a second. ADGR did get past Kubica there. into turn one. So sorry I pulled away from that and we missed that move. Looks like CompuWare and Toxic Blades, they're still in a pretty good battle. Ewok Jr., he had an issue on the first couple laps, but he has been making up some time. It looks like with Faster Than You, that did have an issue, and Mr. B retiring. I feel like Ewok Jr. has been pushing pretty good here, and that gap may be closing. I'm not quite sure. I might be mistaken. But Young Lights and Josh are still really, really battling up here. They're staying within half a second of each other. I've got two battles going on, so I'm really trying to monitor those two at the same time with Young Lights and Josh, and then CPI and Direct, and then Kubica and ADGR. So lots of good racing going out. We haven't seen any contact. We haven't seen anybody really fighting each other. So really good racing so far, and again, I do apologize for what's going on the screen. I feel like that whole interval timesheet right there in the middle is just a little bit too big, a little bit too much. I don't really see what I can do. I can take it away, but then we don't see the intervals. And we do see Young Lights getting past Josh there into turn one using that DRS. I expect we will see that a couple times this lap, or the rest of this race. Yeah, I feel like that just takes up too much space, so maybe that's something we will look into. A little bit later on, see if I can move that a little bit further out so we can look at it, see a little bit more of the track. If that could be all the way in the top left, that would be absolutely fantastic. So again, that's why we're doing this preseason testing. I have not commentated a F1 race in a while, since probably the game 2021. I don't think I even commentated for a race in 2022, but we are back. This is a brand new game, 2023. Just came out a few weeks ago. What was it, June 9th or something? June 13th was when we could all actually get to play it, and we're just at the end of June now. July 1st is tomorrow, of course, or do we have 31 days in June? Don't quite remember, but yeah. So we've had the game out for let's say 3 weeks now. So a couple updates have gone. They've had some tire issues in the game, and then of course we've still got some lobby things that we still need to test and iron out here. But yeah, this is why we're doing this preseason test at Qatar. Again, this is the Elite Aspect F1 Gold League. Just newly formed and wanted to get going here. So next week, I believe it'll be Bahrain round 1, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check on that, everything. And next week I'll have some more stuff available for you to put up as I stream, so you guys can watch and see a little bit more. Yeah, not too much really going on. Again, this is testing, so Young Lights and Josh have had a couple passes. They've been back and forth at it. I will say, I believe it was CPI 0 that took the lead on lap 1, but he had the hard compound tires on. But he is all over the back of Dixie. Like I said, it might be a time now where those hard tires are just coming into their own, and it does look like it, as he's got massive amounts of grip, much more than Direct. So I think we might start seeing these hard tires start to push a little bit harder now as the medium tires start to wear down. That is so close all over the gearbox and exhaust fumes. He's actually smelling that car's exhaust fumes at the moment. But wow, he had to. That's a virtual safety car. Virtual safety car is out. Did not see what happened. Was it Ewok Jr. had an issue? Did Ewok and Faster Than You have contact? Not quite sure. I see the whole wing off the front of Ewok Jr.'s. So that's the reason the virtual safety car has been called out. There's going to be some debris, and it looks like anybody that was on the medium tires has decided to pit. Young Lights decided to stay out. Of course, I believe CPI should stay out, but he just got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, virtual safety car. So he's still learning some stuff out there. I mean, he's a great driver. I've seen him race numerous times. Just got called out a little bit with the Delta and that, so it'll serve that and be done. Again, this is just testing, so don't think of anything too much about it. But yeah, right now, Compu putting on the soft tires, so he's kind of set to a two-stop strategy here. He's not going to be able to take those soft compound tires the rest of the way, unless he didn't pit and he's still on the soft tires. That's a possibility. I believe that is the case. And I'm not sure who did pit, but we can go ahead and pull that up now. So Josh, Dixie, Kubica, and ADGR all did pit. Everybody else ahead of them and behind them stayed out. We do have Ewok Jr. into the pits right now. He is changing the wing, I do believe, but but in that Williams, he is getting plenty of feedback and information on how to drive and what that car is capable of. They do use equal performance in this league, so that is one thing, but we did notice we had something the other day come up about the entire day is absolutely not the same as far as cars are concerned. So that's kind of a little bit of a race rundown so far. We've got Toxic Blade and CompuWare. They are battling it out. Toxic Blade's got 10-lap old hards, and CompuWare's got 10-lap old softs. Really surprised that CompuWare did not come into the pits when that virtual safety car came in, but it might not have been the right time. He might not have, been able to catch it as he was into the pits. It might have already ended, so that would have even lost him time. So, yeah, CPI 0 does come into the pits now. So he's going to take those hard tires off. Did he put another set of hard tires on? Said he just came out of the pits, right? He's got a set of hard tires on. Oh, he pulled his, that's right, he had a drive-through penalty. Do apologize about that. He did have a drive-through penalty, so now that is done. He has served that. Yeah, this Toxic Blade and CompuWare battle going on. We're not going to take our eyes off of that. Oh, man, I do have ADGR and Kubica just a few places back. They are battling pretty hard as well. But I think this is the more interesting battle, as it is for, a spot on the podium, a higher spot on the podium, and the tire differences we're just going to see. We are seeing some more penalties being popped out there. Of course, on your third time you exceed track limits. What a run out of that turn. Sorry, I don't have my track list up. Yeah, that was out of turn 13 and 14. Let's see if he can do anything coming around out of turn 16. How much ERS does he have to push and burn? Looks like he's got plenty of it and the DRS, so those hard tires, straight line speed. Let's see if he's got it. Oh, late on the brakes going into turn 1 as well, so very well done. That was a great overtake by Toxic Blade over CompuWare 2 there. ADGR did put on a new set of mediums, so now he's pulling in fastest laps. And then he did get by Kubica, so that's still a good battle. We've got CPI 0, ADGR, and Kubica all in a very good battle here, so now we'll keep an eye on them for just a little bit. Sorry, I can't watch 2 overtakes at one time. I really wish I could. This is why 2 commentators is better than 1, because I can record and then put a update later on and we can watch them all. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, interesting to see how CPI 0 gets on after that drive-through penalty. His tires probably cooled down just a little bit. And we'll see if ADGR can get a good run here. And they're just coming through, just starting the middle sector. Oh, dipped it down to the inside. That was actually an excellent move by ADGR there. But CPI 0 fighting back around the outside of turns 10 and 11 going into turns 12. Wasn't quite able to hold it, but thought he might. Again, he is on the alternate strategy with those hard tires. But Kubica was trying to have a look on that one too. He says, hey, you guys battle up front, and let's see if I can take advantage of anything there. CompuWare does finally come into the pits to take off those soft tires, and we are seeing time penalties being put out everywhere. But that's okay. That's expected around this track. CPI 0 down to the inside. Wow, that car's straight line speed is absolutely amazing. CPI 0 actually, is he going to get by as well? Nope. We got ADGR and Kubica battling. ADGR around the outside, just didn't have enough space to hold it in there. Kubica gets past ADGR. This battle's probably going to go on for a few laps, so we're going to park it in the middle of these 3 and just sit back and enjoy. I hate to move back with these 3 battling at the moment because we do have a battle between Josh and Toxic Blades up there near the front, but these guys, we're not going to take our eyes off them as they are side by side going into turns 7. And then the fast left-right left-handers here of 8, 9, and 10. So this is just a battle we don't want to keep our eyes off of. As it looks like Kubica did get past 0 again. We'll see if they can continue this battle going forward. Because, yeah, the DRS is absolutely OP. I mean, it's supposed to be. That's kind of the point. But in this game, it is absolutely killer on these straights, especially a long straight like that. Toxic Blade and Josh, nope, they didn't really. Not a bad idea to actually pit there, as CPI 0 does come into the pits as well. He's going to take his hard tires off. That's interesting. I thought he could take those a little bit longer, but of course, tire deg may be pretty strong out there, as we see a couple drivers coming into the pits. Toxic Blade, CPI 0. That puts ADGR up to 5th, Kubica up to 4th, Dixie up to 3rd, Josh 2, and Young Lights are still battling. I don't think Young Lights is pit yet, but that interval that he's got right there, I think the right thing to do was to pit under the virtual safety car, like a couple drivers did. So Young Lights might be hung out to dry here, but if he can take them a long enough ways and maybe put on a set of softs, he's about 50% done with the race, of course. So he's going to have to take those medium tires to about lap 20 if he wants to even chance to put on a set of softs, as we did see, I believe it was CompuWare, he did 13, 14 laps on a set of softs. So very interesting pit stop strategies that we have going on out here. ADGR and Kubica still battling, as I believe they both just pitted together. They've been battling for a little bit here, so we will keep an eye on that battle. CompuWare, Toxic Blade side by side into turn 7 again. These two Mercedes Powers cars are really going at it, both on the same tire. They are not giving each other an inch. I think CompuWare, he's just going to sit back for just a minute. Take these turns 12, 13, 14. I love this little all-three right-hand section. Just like a roller coaster ride. And then a little bit of a braking down into turns 15, of course. Straight line down to 16. Pit lane on the right that you see there. Just off the gas a little bit. See who gets the better run. Of course, it's a long DRS straight. So we'll see how these miles per hour just closing out to the inside, not even before the start-finish line, as he does also CompuWare put in the fastest lap of the race. Not much anybody can do to defend when the driver coming up has got ERS and DRS open as well. So ADGR and Kubica are still in a pretty good battle here. That time, Young Lights and Josh 2, that is just closing. Remember last lap, lap 14, that time was about 15 seconds. Now it's down to 13.5, so it's going to be interesting to see what Young Lights can do here. He's going to have to change the tires. He's got to put on a set of hards at least. We're thinking, but maybe he can take it and put on a set of softs and make up, a second and a half, 2 seconds a lap to maybe see if he can put himself back into this. I'm not sure how many seconds you lose in the pit lane around this track, because I have not really commentated on this track and raced this track too much, as a matter of fact. So I need to get some more information about this one if we race it again. But we do have a couple drivers, couple battles going out there. ADGR and Kubica, of course, and Toxic Blade and CompuWare, of course, are having a pretty good battle. So I'm trying to keep my eyes on both of these going forward. A little bit of a spread coming out, but I think with one-stop, two-stop strategies, we might see this whole field shrink back up just a little bit. All we need is one safety car, and that'll make everything much more fun, won't it? So we've got ADGR did not get by. And even with DRS and ERS, might have too much downforce on that car, too much drag coming out Toxic Blades, as he could not use the DRS and ERS to get past CompuWare there, but he can set it up for a nice run on the next lap. Still got ADGR and Kubica fighting it out as well, so we'll see when we can look at those two guys. But Toxic Blade's all over the back of CompuWare at the moment, so we want to keep an eye on that. Any little teeny mistake, any little tweak of that rear end coming out of a turn, and it just opens the door for the other driver who saved their tires better, is also an issue for these guys. But as our rounding 7 going through 8, 9, and 10, we will keep a look ahead here in just a minute on the other two drivers as they approach the DRS line and the pit straight. And we also do want to comment, you do see Young Lights this time, those intervals to Josh too, they're just going, as we do have ADGR and Kubica on that back straight now. Not much ERS to burn left, but he does have that DRS open, and let's see what he can do. He did use a little bit there. I think he's got enough to get past, but can he hold on throughout the rest of the race, and will he have anything for the straight to defend against and not lose that position again? So it looks like Kubica's got a little bit more ERS to work with when he comes home for the next time. And then, of course, And Toxic Blade, I don't know if he's just playing the long game here, as CPI 0 has then just put in a fastest lap of the race. We'll see if he can make up some places here, especially if we have two-stop strategies. Not sure if Toxic Blade, if he just went with too much downforce for this track, too much drag, he's just not able to get the straight line speed out of that Aston Martin compared to his rival in front of him. So that'll be interesting to see. Or maybe he's just playing it safe and conserving his ERS because he knows he's going to need it for something else a little bit later. But he does seem to be closing, especially in the second sector. Seems to be a little bit faster, so I'm thinking it's probably a setup situation here where he's got a little bit more downforce than the other drivers. And definitely through the second sector, he can be a little bit faster, but he's going to struggle to make that pass on the back stretch. So looks like we do have Sector 1 caution. Or somebody, I think, came into the pits. That's Young Lights into the pits. I don't know why we have a caution in Sector 1. Nope, that'll be Ewok and Passion New. I don't think they had a problem. I think Ewok just kind of went off the road there. So that was Young Lights who did come into the pits. He did put on a set of softs. So that's going to be 11 laps for him on those soft compound tires. We'll see if he can manage those and make them work as Kubica gets by as well. So that fight between Kubica and ADGR is going to be interesting to watch. And then, of course, Toxic Blade and Coffee with. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Toxic Blade's here. He just does not have the straight line speed to close in and make that turn into turn 1. But we'll definitely see what happens as far as his race continues on. I believe CPI 0, something has happened. I believe he came into the pits and retired it. Yep, so it looks like CPI 0 came into the pits and retired the car. That was very good on him for doing that. We do appreciate drivers when they do that. We'll keep an eye on Toxic Blades and CompuWare as they are still battling within, two or three tenths of each other. We've got another in Sector 3. Is that Ewok off again? Possibly. And then, of course, we see some more penalties being thrown out there. But no, we want to keep an eye on this battle here as they are rounding turns 12 and 13. Love that little fast right-hand section. We'll see if Toxic Blades can finally get a really good run. We might have a little contact between somebody as Ewok comes into the pits and retires. Dixie and Kubica, I don't know, maybe they had a little contact there and somebody needs to replace a wing. That's why they're in the pits. I'm not quite sure. Or they just went with that two-stop strategy. But again, Toxic Blades just not enough. They can get onto that gearbox, but just not enough to get by. Especially in the high-speed sections, the straight, of course. So that'll be interesting to see. Young Lights, everybody's got the stops. I think I'll put that up enough. You're going to vote for driver of the day right now. If you were going to vote, it would be CompuWare. He's moved up 5 spots and is very close to a podium, but we'll have to see what happens going on from there. As this battle between Toxic Blade and CompuWare still goes on. I believe CPI 0 did pull the fastest lap just a little bit ago, but he is now DNF'd. And Young Lights has those soft tires on, so let's see. He's got 10 laps to make up 7.5 seconds on the softer compound newer tires, but at the end of his stint, they might be screaming, burning, but he is closing rather quickly. So that's a gap that we're going to want to keep an eye on, especially over here over the next couple laps, see how far that thing can close, as he did just set the fastest lap. That's another thing I wanted to mention, is that he is on the soft compound tires, so I expected a faster lap to be coming out of him pretty soon. Here we are again with Toxic Blades and CompuWare. DRS, can he make a move? Can anything happen? ADGR came into the pit, so that'll be his second stop. So he went with a two-stop strategy. But yeah, Toxic Blades is still not able to get by. He may be waiting because he knows the way this track is, that if he passes now, he won't have the DRS later, and he'll be defending for the rest of the race. That could be a strategy that he's working on, but no, it looks like he's pulling out to the side here. Was he going to try to take that around the outside of turns 4 and 5? Doesn't thought twice about it, I guess. But, oh, almost right in the back of that Mercedes as well, because he is keeping on him, especially in these twisty parts. But this battle between these two is actually opening the door for Dixie and Kubica to close that gap up even faster. Even ADGR there, he's only within a second and a half of Kubica there in 6th place. So 8 drivers left out there, and I think there's a lot to play for here. We've got Young Lights and Josh. That gap is just closing. And then as far as who wants this last podium spot, with those drivers just coming into the pits and having nice fresh tires for these next 8-9 laps, I think we could have a really good finish here in the closing parts of this race, as Toxic Blade does get by CompuWare. CompuWare, I think, just made a minor mistake there coming out of the turn, so Toxic Blade did get by. So yeah, definitely strategy there, putting the pressure on. But again, now Dixie is all over the back of them. We do have a caution in sector 2. Is that ADGR, or is that faster than you? Okay, so he had a little bit of an issue. Dixie just set the fastest lap of the race. I expect to see that happen a couple more times, but look how fast he is flying. He just came out of the pits a couple laps ago, and he has already closed this 4 or 5 second gap all the way down to less than a second. And he can probably take a run at both of these guys once he finishes up this lap on those soft compound tires. On those soft compound tires, he may be able to do it in Sector 2 here, just having that much more grip and being able to keep it around the outside with brand new fresh soft tires on these guys that have used their mediums up for the last 7, 8, 9 laps. So two-stop strategy may be the way to go, as Dixie does pull it around the outside. I think CompuWare's definitely tires are starting to hurt a little bit. We'll see if he decided to go with a two-stop strategy. If he does, he'll put on a set of sauce, and then maybe he can make up the time around here. Faster Than You did just retire, but he came into the pits and did it. So we won't see any safety cars or anything like that. CompuWare, is he going to be able to hang on to the back of Durex? Durex and Toxic Blade, that's going to be a battle between the Aston Martins coming up here in just a second as well. As we do see that gap, Young Lights flying out there. He has closed that gap to 2 seconds already with plenty of laps to spare. So that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to burn these tires. He's going to have to get past. Then he's going to have to put a gap up because I don't think his soft tires are going to be holding on as long as Josh's hard tires are going to. So we'll have to see. Maybe Josh has been conserving his tires, and he'll be able to push a little bit later. ADGR is getting past the Red Bull of Kubica here into turn 1. He had just set a fastest lap, I do believe, as well on those soft compound tires. I don't want to take my eyes off Toxic Blade, Durex, and CompuWare, as that battle is, they're all within, just a little teeny tiny amounts of each other. It's all less than a second. We'll see how that battle progresses, but in just a minute, we're going to have to come up and switch back to the leaders here, because Young Lights is going to be within 1 second of Josh 2 here coming around the final turns. But then I didn't look at, who has how many penalties and what their penalties are worth. If it's 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 9 seconds here and there, that's going to jumble up the order a little bit once everybody crosses the line. So that could be interesting to watch. But definitely Josh and Young Lights have kind of owned this track. They put in a great gap to 3rd place of Toxic. And then, of course, Dixie and CompuWare are sticking with them. Yeah, we just got to keep an eye on these intervals because they are forever changing. And yeah, Young Lights did not get past Josh 2 on that last straight, as I was just trying to keep an eye on that interval, see how much it closed. But definitely closed the gap. He's within a second. Dixie is within a second of his teammate in the other Aston Martin. Overtake, DRS, all engaged, gets up into the podium position. ADGR, let's see if he can do the same thing. Doesn't look like he was a little bit further back. But now we got to go up to the leaders because those two are battling. But no, Toxic is all over the back of Dixie as well. So he's not, yeah, it's just, wow. Oh, and I just missed the ADGR and CompuWare. Those nice fresh tires, he was able to put a move on coming into turns 2 and 3. Yeah, even though it's just preseason here, a little bit of testing going on, and only 8 or 7 drivers left now, we've still had a little bit of an action around the Losail circuit here in Qatar for, and a little bit of a tap there and a spin, a little bit of a rear end shake by Young Lights there. I just think his car is just made right now, especially with those soft tires being warmed up and geared in. Yeah, he's just able to push a little bit more than Josh, and didn't expect that. But yeah, he's got DRS, and he's got a little bit of ERS to burn. We'll see if he can make this move down into turn 1. He may want to just turn the ERS off, back out, and conserve this lap. Since he's got the tires to do it, shouldn't be an issue. He can save some ERS and then finally make it happen with a few laps left. Looks like 1 second gaps all the way back between Dixie and CompuWare, so we'll keep an eye on those if there's any changes because they're all on different tire strategies. But yeah, you just look at that line coming across the pit straight at the moment. All of them single file, all of them within almost just under a second of each other. So, like I said, 5 laps to go here for the elite aspect F1 Racing Gold Racing League. We should have an interesting finish here coming up soon. And Young Lights is definitely keeping the pressure on, staying in those mirrors of Josh and making sure, hey, I'm not going anywhere, I'm here, and just waiting for a mistake to be made so he can capitalize on it. CompuWare backed off a little bit, but looks like he's still closing that gap up just a little bit as well. ADGR is within 1 second of Toxic Blade, so we'll go back and check out that big what's going on there. Young Lights did get it by Josh there down into turn 16. Can he maintain it? He should have DRS open still because he did it after he crossed the line, the DRS detection zone, but Josh's Alpine is just rapid in a straight line, it does look like. So ADGRO, both of them went pretty wide there coming out of turn 15. Who's going to make the better exit out of turn 16? We do have a Ferrari versus a Mercedes engine here. We did see Toxic kind of struggling a little bit earlier with top of the line speed. But ADGR did get by with DRS there and burning all his ERS. Toxic Blade's got ERS to burn to maybe defend or maybe come back at him in a couple laps' time. Josh is trying to hang with Young Lights, but I think Young Lights' tires are just that much better. He may have a chance, just depending on where those tires really start to fall off for Young Lights. Did he pit, right on time and be able to take those soft tires the rest of the way? That'll be interesting to watch as we get a few more laps in. There's definitely a breaking point for their soft compound tires and how much they can actually handle. Once they get past that, 40, 50% or 35%, then we really start to see issues. But we do have a lot of penalties out there, so let's see what we've got. Young Lights has 15 seconds of penalties, so he's going to drop pretty far back. Well, at least, maybe a little bit back as far as that's concerned. So, there's, a 12-second gap between them. He could be fine. He would have to build to win this race. But, yeah, again, it's just preseason testing, so we're not going to hold anybody in horrible standings for making mistakes here. As we just watched Toxic go a little bit across the line. He picked up his first penalty of the race. Josh coming out of turn 2, he was able to close that gap just a little bit. Is Kubica going to be able to do anything since he should be with DRS in that Red Bull? Let's see if he can do anything on the Aston Martin here. He looks like he's got ERS to burn. Toxic's got plenty of it to defend, it does look like, but still that DRS is so strong, especially at this track, as long as that straight line is. And as long as that DRS zone is, he had plenty to go with it. But yeah, I think this has been a fantastic race, especially just for preseason testing. There's no points being awarded, nothing like that. Like I said, we only started with 11 drivers. We've got 7 left here in preseason test race around Qatar here. We've seen moves, we've seen good racing, we've seen tight racing. We haven't seen any real, any wrecks or anything. And I'm just... commentators jinx. I think some of these tires are starting to wear out a little bit. As CompuWare did come around, or Toxic Blade, just lost it. But I would think that Dirty Air might have something to do with that. I don't know if that really matters in a game like this, and if they can even use those physics in a game like this and make that a real thing. But we did see Kubica's rear end come out, and then as soon as it did, Toxic's came out straight around right behind him. So we could say that maybe it's not implemented in the game. But it could be a little thing. Who knows? But Josh still all over the back of Young Light, so he's just playing the long game, I guess. If he's got the ERS, wait another lap, see if he can pass him and hold him off. It's a long, so you really may want to try it as you're coming to the line for a photo finish, just because trying to hold somebody off for one final lap. If they get just a little bit better run, they'll be able to overtake you going in. So we definitely want to see who's going to finish first on track, and then, of course, once the penalties are all handed out, everything will jumble up just a little bit. But I can tell you, ADGR, he is going to want that podium spot. He is pushing hard, because if he gets past Dixie and then puts up a little bit more of a gap to WRL Kubica right behind him, he will be able to stand on that podium. Soft tires versus soft tires. Don't get another penalty, though. That would kind of kill your chances there. Yeah, heartbreak for Toxic Blade. He had a very strong race, and he still does have a very strong race. Just that it's been kind of hurt a little bit, as we do have in Sector 2, I think that should have been a Mercedes CompuWare. Might have had an issue there. And ADGR is all over the back of Dixie at this moment. Let's see if he can get a good run out of turn 15 here, 16, and make that pass. Only going to have to hold him off for 2 laps. No, he makes the pass now, going in. So that's going to give Dixie the DRS. He'll be able to make the pass again. So a little bit of chicken with the DRS zone maybe being played. Not quite sure if that's a thing. Or maybe he just had an issue and didn't have traction coming out of turn 15, or 14, excuse me. Or yeah, turn 15 going into 16. So that is a possibility. We'll see what happens, though. Looks like Josh has fallen back a little bit on Young Lights. I think he knows if he, to win the race, he's not going to win it on track, but he will definitely be bumped up after the penalties are awarded. Let's see if anybody's going to get any more penalties in these last couple turns here. We got 1 lap after this one to go, and that'll be it for pre-season testing with ADGR and Dixie. They definitely put on a good show here for us today, with great racing, side-by-side racing, and back-and-forth passes, especially using that DRS zone right there at the start-finish line. Again, this track, it definitely yields. If you may want to slow down for 1 turn, but then that sets you up for a better exit out of the next turn. As we see Josh get another penalty, that's not going to hurt him. You maintain your speed a little bit better coming out of another turn and have a little bit better run. Yeah, so I mean, this track is definitely strategy as far as pit stops, and then also where is it best to pass. It looked like Dixie was kind of trying to play the same thing. Who wants the DRS? ADGR is going to get it, and then you see as soon as he opens it, he just takes off. Now he's going to have to hold on for the rest of this lap, as Young Light gets another penalty. Yeah, if he got a couple more, he would be disqualified from this race. That rear end of ADGR's is starting to step out quite a bit, so we'll see if he's got enough traction to hold off Dixie wrecked here at the end of this race, but Dixie just got another penalty, so that's unfortunate for him. Even if he passes him on track, he's not going to build a 3-second gap in time. So I think the top 3 are going to be the way they are, except for Young Lights will drop to number 2. Yeah, last lap here, everything was great. We had a fantastic race. Everybody looked pretty good, looked pretty solid. And as far as the intervals are concerned, I don't see too much in them. Some drivers might have had an issue. We had a 2-stop strategies versus 1-stop strategies. So yeah, I think these drivers are just going to compose their thoughts and start thinking about how they're going to want to run the season as far as they're concerned. We do have Young Lights coming across the line now. He's going to take the win on track, but with the penalties, unfortunately, he's going to be dropped down to 2nd place. So Josh, too, will take the win on paper. Young Lights took it on track, and then we got ADGR. He's definitely looks like he's going to be able to hold off Dixie, but oh no, and he's made that gap up as well. Did Dixie have a little issue coming out of one of the turns there? Yeah, so now it looks like ADGR is going to hold on to 3rd place here by increasing that gap to more than 3 seconds. Dixie's going to cross the line in 4th, but be dropped down to 5th due to having a couple more penalties, or 3 seconds more penalties than Kubica. That puts Kubica up to 4th. Dixie wrecked in 5th. Toxic Blade just coming around turn 15 now, coming around turn 16 in just a minute. He is definitely going to take 6th place, and CompuWare will take 7th. So we definitely want to see the fastest lap does go to ADGR. And then we see our penalties, but position change, I mean, Kubica up 3 places, that's a fantastic race. I thought somebody was up 5, CompuWare was up 5 places at one point, but had an issue, I do believe, so he's up 2 places. Spoke for driver of the day, whoever do you think, as the last driver is coming across the line now. And that's going to do it for Elite Aspect Racing, Elite Aspect F1 Gold League Racing preseason test here at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar. Driver today did go to ADGR, so well done to him. Fantastic job, of course. I think congratulations to all the drivers. Strategies played an important role. We did have some penalties there at the end, but that is to be expected. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Fabregas115. I appreciate you joining us for our little race today. We're just going to watch the final standings here of our race and make sure we've got that listed for everything that. So when we go into next week, we can talk about some drivers and have these memories to go back on and what we've seen and what we expect as far as going into the season starting next week in Bahrain. All right, so there is a rundown of what happened in the race. Josh, too, did take the win after the penalties from Young Lights, but Young Lights did have a fantastic race. Unfortunate that he didn't keep it in the white lines quite as much as he should have, but that's to be expected, and especially here in preseason, you can get away with that kind of stuff. It'll definitely be detrimental in the league, though, as far as the season's concerned. But ADGR, very impressive, starting fourth, finishing third, so moving up a spot and pulling the fastest lap there in the end. So an extra point would go to him if it was real league racing. Kubica, I think he had a fantastic race as well, starting seventh and ending up fourth. So yeah, some of these drivers definitely put on a show. Obviously, we see the one-stop strategy was a little bit more beneficial in the long run. So yeah, I think the Young Light strategy might be the ultimate one. Take those mediums as far as you can at Qatar, and then put on a set of softs. Or maybe like CPI might have had the right idea of taking the hards and then putting on a set of softs even further later in. So yeah, well, that's going to do it for Elite Aspect F1 Gold League. Thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Fabregas115. Put the stream on the YouTube, and then I've also put it up on my YouTube if you want to go see it there. But that's going to do it for us today. I do appreciate you watching, and pay attention next week. We will be back for the next race.